Hello, this is Photography Gamer, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm reviewing Assassin's Creed Odyssey for the PS4. Assassin's Creed Odyssey is an action role-playing game developed by Ubisoft Quebec. You play as Alexios, a small-town mercenary doing odd jobs here and there. The adventure begins on the island of Kefalonia, where you help out some local people deal with a local tyrant called Cyclops. After this you'll have access to a ship, and that's where the game really opens up. It's a very ambitious game that encompasses so many different genres. You'll be sailing the open seas like a pirate, you'll be getting involved in politics, open warfare, family feuds, mythology, gods, and even secret societies. It's one of the largest and most expansive games that I've played in recent times. The main story takes place with a backdrop of the Spartan-Athenian war going on in the background. Alexios is originally from Sparta but was banished as a child, and as the story progresses you can take your revenge on the Spartans or you can side with the Athenians. The choice is yours. The game is set in ancient Greece and it's an absolute joy to behold. The developers have really put a lot of work into the landscapes, the architecture of the era. It's a stunning game to look at and a stunning game to explore. But what is the game like to play? Well, it's very varied and it covers multiple genres, as I said. Firstly, it's an Assassin's Creed game, so it has that stealthy parkour style. You can assassinate people, generally be stealthy. You also have an eagle that you can control and fly over environments, and it's like the old world equivalent of a drone. There are also role-playing elements, such as branching conversations you can have with key characters, and the choices you make will dictate where the action goes and how things end up for you and also the other key characters in the game. It's not a fully fledged RPG like something like Skyrim, but it's more like Skyrim Lite. The game enters into battlefield warfare, but first you've got to clear enemy camps, burn resources, assassinate key figures, and generally weaken the power of that region. After this, the region's leader will have to come out and you can conquer that region after a conquest battle. Conquest battles, they're large-scale fights where huge numbers of troops on both sides face off, and you can freely roam this battlefield and fight whoever you choose. You also have random mercenaries who roam the lands of Greece. Taking these out will reward you with epic gear, but they vary in strength, so be careful who you start a fight with, because if you're not the appropriate level, you might end up getting killed very easily. Also, if you misbehave in any place, like you steal things or you generally be a douchebag to the locals, then you'll have a bounty put on your head. And once you get a bad enough rep, the bounty hunters will turn up in locations just after you were there, so they're kind of on your trail, and it really can get interesting depending on the level of the bounty. The game also features a ship that you can sail on the open seas, and this game feels like a spiritual sequel to the excellent Black Flag edition of the series. You can enter into battles with other ships, you can sink them or you can board them and take their resources once you've killed all of the crew. You can upgrade your ship with money and resources, and even recruit special crew members that give your ship a statistic boost. And also the sea shanties of the Black Flag return, but obviously they're more Greek influenced than pirate songs, but it's nice to see them return, it gives it a more authentic feel. So, as you can tell, this game has a lot to offer, not just in terms of game styles, but also in terms of the game map. It's an absolute immense place to explore, and it's beautifully crafted both visually and structurally. The controls, however, they are a little bit of a mixed bag. The general controls for parkour and stealth are excellent. The ship controls are very easy to use and the sailing feels very smooth and realistic. The combat, however, isn't as good as it could have been in my opinion. The problem with the combat is it all feels a little bit soft, not visually, it's just an audio issue. When you're in a heated fight and you've landed heavy blows, they just don't seem to have the weight or the power that you would imagine, and the buttons allocated to the combat feel weird, they don't feel in tune with the majority of other combat games. Like God of War, for example, hitting, blocking and parrying, it was very, intuitive in those games. But also in the audio sense, like when you played those games, there was a real weight and impact to everything. This game, the combat feels sometimes a little bit powder puff. Also, when you're facing multiple foes, it's not so easy to deal with all the opponents, because it's not like Shadow of War or Batman Arkham games. Like, the crowd management system needs a little bit of work. But it isn't a terrible system, don't get me wrong, it's just something they could have done better, I think, and I think in the next game they will do it better. But it's solid rather than being fantastic. So as I said, the game, it's more of an RPG now than a stealthy assassin game, and it's also a loot fest of a game, much like something like a Diablo 3. The amount of items, weapons and drachma that you find throughout your adventure is ridiculous, and you can upgrade a lot of these items via the blacksmith. Assuming you've got enough money and resources, you can level up your gear to the current player level, you can add engravings to boost certain statistics, you can also sell all of the stuff you've accumulated during your travels. And the weapons and the armour, they're beautifully created and they look fantastic on your character. You can also customise the skin used for each item. So if you like the look of one of your weapons better than others, but you find a better weapon that looks crap, you can just change the skin of the weapon to one you've already found. Personally, I think that's a really nice touch, because quite often in these games, you pick up so many items and you just wear the best one and your outfit ends up looking ridiculous. So it's nice that you can kind of pick and choose the skin for every piece so that you look the part. You can level up via experience, and you also have a skill tree with special abilities for hunters, assassins or warriors depending on what is your preferred playstyle. The game has many enemies and threats spread throughout ancient Greece. The Spartans, the Athenians, they're everywhere, as are raiders, mercenaries, bounty hunters, wild animals. You've got sea creatures and even other more fantasy related things out there, like the Minotaur for example. The game has so many things to do, you can just lose hours and hours playing this game. It's very addictive and you're always confronted with new places to search, enemies to fight, camps to explore, sailing the open seas. It's just so rich and interesting. Graphically, the game is an absolute treat. It's one of the most beautiful imagined game worlds I've ever explored. It's lavish, it's colourful, it's well structured and it's well thought out. The character models look good, as do the outfits, the weapons, the armour, and it's all beautifully crafted and it really looks amazing. It's hard to pick any flaws visually. It's definitely one of the best games in the series in terms of the graphics. Thankfully, the game does have a photo mode and it's a very user-friendly and easy to navigate system. You can't add filters, but you do have a lot of customization sliders from exposure, tint, temperature, saturation, vignettes, noise and bloom. You can add artificial zoom, and they've also included a useful system for isolating the point of focus, which really saves a lot of time. The game is a visual masterpiece and photo modes were thought up for games like this. It's a sprawling adventure across so many diverse and gorgeous environments, and the photo mode, it's easy to use and you'll have ample opportunities to create beautiful shots to share with your gaming friends or the community. It's fantastic, great photo mode, great graphics. The music is beautifully scored and it fits perfectly with the era and it has that kind of traditional feel. The voice acting is solid in general and the game world ambience really adds to the atmosphere when exploring. The voice acting is good, there's also a good sense of humour in there, so there's some kind of funny voice acting as well, and overall the voice acting, the music, the audio, I thought it was pretty good. So what's good and what's bad? What's good? The game is immense value for money and it's an incredibly ambitious game. The game world is beautifully crafted and it looks fantastic. The assassin and parkour elements are as strong as they always are. There is a welcome return to the pirate ship feature from Black Flag, and I personally love this feature, it really adds to the exploration. The addition of open warfare and a more combat focus gives the game an extra amount of depth. The game world feels alive and the developers, they've clearly worked very hard to cultivate a kind of living, breathing game world. The game also has a good sense of humour, and the way they've recreated ancient Greece is amazing, especially Athens, which when you first find it will absolutely blow you away. What's bad? The combat system could have been a bit tighter with better audio work to give the combat more weight. The story does drag on a little bit and it can take an eternity for them to get to the point. The game may have bitten off more than it can chew by trying to appeal to too many different types of genre. There are a lot of fetch quests and a little bit more variety in the mission structure would have been appreciated. Okay, so what is the verdict? Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a mind-blowing undertaking by Ubisoft, and it's very impressive how good the game actually is, taking into consideration how many different game styles they've included. They've done a stellar job recreating the ancient world, and it's a thoroughly enjoyable Odyssey you go on throughout the huge main story and the other side activities. However, it may have been a little bit too ambitious, and at times it can be a little bit overwhelming or confusing as to what the game is actually trying to be. But you can't fault the variety, and you'll never run out of things to do or places to explore. Despite a few minor issues, it's a great game and one I enjoyed immensely, and it will take you an absolute age to see everything the game has to offer. So what is the score? So I wrote down 8.5, but I've been playing it for another week. I was going to review this a week ago. I'd kind of made my notes and I thought I'd made my decision on 8.5, but I played it for one more week just to consolidate my views, and I've been exploring outside of the main story a little bit more broader across the map, and you can't underestimate how much work they've put into this game, and I thoroughly enjoy it. You know, whenever I put my PlayStation on, I always want to play this because it's just very, very playable and beautifully crafted. So I think it's better than 8.5. I would give this a 9 out of 10. Maybe it's more 8.75, but I would lean towards 9. So 9 out of 10 is what I would say. It's an excellent game. It's got some fine tuning needed for the next game, which I believe is going to be called Ragnarok, focused on Viking mythology. If they can make the combat more powerful, more punchy, and they can add more depth to the RPG elements, you could be looking at an absolute all-time classic with the next one. But this one is very, very good, and I would recommend it. Okay, that was the review. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. This is Photography Gamer signing off. Thank you.